Alright, in this video we're going to be going over experiment 1 of this particular procedure set, and it's called synthesis. So for this procedure we need 3 sets of instruments. We have a crucible, and we have a balancer, and we have a Bunsen burner. Alright, so the procedures tell us to do is to take the crucible and to put it onto the scale, onto the balance. The balance tells us it weighs 88 grams. So let's try and keep track of that in our minds. Let's go and grab magnesium, and it wants to add 5 grams of magnesium to this crucible. Now, obviously this weight should be around 93 grams. See, it's exactly 93 grams, because 88 plus 5 is 93. It's fairly simple. Next part wants us to actually put the crucible onto the Bunsen burner and put it on low heat. So we'll put it on low heat. I believe that's low heat. There we go, low heat. Okay. So it wants to leave it on there for about a minute, or 1 to 2 minutes really. And so the idea is that over the course of this minute, the heat will cause the magnesium to interact with the air around it, and to create an interaction, to have a reaction of some sort, be the end effect. Alright, so it doesn't take long to do this in Late Nite Labs. It's fairly effective that way, and you don't actually have to leave it on there for a full minute. So I can probably turn this off, take this off, and put it onto the scale. Alright, now something interesting happened. We can see that the actual mass of the crucible and the contents inside increased to 96.289 grams. That's a little odd, because I think in most situations people think that if you burn something it's actually going to decrease in weight or in volume, because I guess particles go into the air, or certain other things may happen that cause it to be less than it was prior to the actual heat being applied to it. But in this case it's different. It's actually increased in weight. So what I think has happened here is actually this, is that this is the equation that I found that actually makes a lot of sense and explains this to a great extent. It's that we have 2 moles of magnesium and then a mole of CO2, and then we apply heat, we end up with 2 moles of magnesium oxide and a mole of carbon. So what this tells us is that the CO2 in the air actually interacted with the magnesium under heat, and it caused carbon to actually develop on its own in the crucible, along with 2 moles of magnesium oxide, where the oxygen is kind of like attached to the magnesium. This makes a lot of sense, and it kind of tells us why extra weight was added to extra mass was added to the actual crucible contents, because you can see that the carbon itself was not there prior to the experiment, and now that it is, it's actually gained weight. So I think this actually kind of gives us a very clear idea of what can happen in certain situations like this, and what can happen in these actual interactions and these reactions. So yeah, that concludes the presentation on magnesium oxide and carbon.